Movie Net, Saturday, 10:30 p.m., W5FC. 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 W5FC repeater, T1.9. W5FC repeater, T1.9.
I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
And does anybody need to use the repeater before we begin tonight's Skynet? And does anybody need to use the repeater before we begin tonight's Skynet? This is Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray. My name is Tom. I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become familiar with the nighttime, daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is so amateurs interested in this topic. We encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the pro sign break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? Please come now. In this topic, we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net. Take that as a no. This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me this evening, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on this frequency, which is 146.880 megahertz with a kill tone of 110 dynamite. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Just go to the club website, which is whiskey5friedchicken.org right now for a complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available. All amateur operators are welcome, and you need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. We have general announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, space exploration and space history, what's up? Constellation of the month we have tonight, space launches of the week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and a 73 round. Depending, since it is a 90-minute net, we may or may not get to all of these, but we'll get through most of them. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start with low power short time check-ins. If you're one of those, please come with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from, and let me know if you're low power short time. 90-minute net, we may or may not get to all of these, but we'll get through most of them. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start with low power short time check-ins. If you're one of those, please come with your call sign.
November 5, Whiskey Oscar India,
And let me know if
William
you're low power short
in Allen. Short time.
But we'll get through most of them.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Quebec, Delta, Quebec. Eric, Spring Park Star Party, short time.
India, William in Allen. Short time.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Quebec, Delta, Quebec. Eric, Spring Park Star Party.
All right, I got two N5WOI. That's William over in Allen, and then I got KF5QDQ Eric at the Star Party. So Eric, I'll tell you what, why don't you go ahead. If you've got anything to tell us, I'll let you do that now so you can get back to the Star Party. How many folks are out there? What are you guys looking at? KF5QDQ from KE5ICX. KF5QDQ Eric at the Star
Roger that. We've got 3 telescopes on site. We've got roughly about 10 people here at the moment. We're looking at the moon, right, and smattering of other things. And we'll probably be out here for another half hour or so because it's starting to get cold and everybody's starting to wear down since we've been here for about 3.5 hours. KF5 QDQ, back to net.
All right, Eric, well, stay warm, and I'm glad you're out there taking care of business. All right. William, you have anything for us this evening you want to bring to the net? All right, Eric, well, stay warm, and
no, I just like to check in with y'all every week, and I do lurk and listen in the background while I do other things, take care of some stuff, and that's all I got in 5WI. Back to the net. No, I just like to check in with y'all every week, and I do lurk.
Okie. If I don't ask you on a short time, then that would be the night that you would have something you wanted to urgently talk about. So I didn't want that to happen. So very good. Listen, continue to listen. Okay, we'll take general check-ins now. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call phonetically. Your name, where you're transmitting from. That would be the night that you would have something you wanted to urgently talk about. So I didn't want that to happen. So very good. Listen, continue to listen. Okay, we'll take general check-ins now. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call.
This is
Where you're transmitting from.
November 5 Hotel Echo Bravo, Howard, Carrollton.
So I didn't want that to happen. So very good. Listen, continue to listen.
Well, Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Please come now with your call.
This is
Where you're transmitting from.
November 5 Hotel Echo Bravo, Howard, Carrollton.
So Fox 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz, Mesquite.
Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill in Irving.
November 5 Hotel Echo Bravo, Howard, Carrollton.
So Fox 5, Juliet
Kilo 5, Kilo, Tango X-ray, Kelly in Quinlan.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill in Irving. November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
Kilo 5, Kilo, Tango X-ray, Kelly in
Echo
Quinlan.
5, Uniform India X-Ray, Taylor in Dallas.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda DeSoto.
November 5, Sierra, Quebec Alpha, Ron in Dallas.
Echo 5, Uniform India X-Ray, Taylor in Dallas.
Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey, Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda DeSoto.
November 5, Sierra, Quebec Alpha, Ron in Dallas.
Echo 5, Uniform India X-Ray, Taylor in Dallas.
Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey, Victor Lima, James in Carrollton.
Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda DeSoto.
I've got N5EB, that's Howard in Carrollton. Welcome, Howard. K5ZBL, Mr. Bill, Farmers Branch. K5JAJ, the Chaz in Mesquite. N5BB, Mr. Bill in Irving. K5KTX, Miss Kelly over in Quinlan. NT5TM, Tony in Dallas. KE5 Uniform India X-Ray, that's Taylor in Dallas. Welcome, Taylor. WB50ZL, Miss Brenda in DeSoto. N5SQA, Ron. Welcome back in Dallas. KG5, Whiskey Victor Lima, that's James in Carrollton. I'll take additional check-ins. Please come out, Taylor. WB50ZL, Miss DeSoto. N5SQA, Ron. Welcome back in Dallas. KG5,
Golf 5, Alpha, Papa Lima,
that's
Patrick
James
in Dallas.
in Carrollton. I'll take additional check-ins. Please come out, Taylor. WB50ZL, Miss DeSoto. N5SQA, Ron. Welcome back in Dallas. KG5,
Golf 5, Alpha, Papa Lima, Patrick in Dallas.
Carrollton. I'll take additional check-ins. Please come out. Okay, I got actually two. I've got Tyler, KG5DIM in Denton over on Echolink, and don't worry, other Echolinkers, I'll just a second. I got KG5APL, Patrick in Dallas. One final round, one additional round here on RF, and then I'll move to Echolink. Anyone else like to join us? Please come to call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. Don't worry, other Echolinkers, I'll just a second. I got KG5APL, Patrick in Dallas. One final round, one additional round here on RF, and then I'll move to Echolink. Anyone else like to join us? Okay, we'll go over to Echolink. I'll give you extra time. Please come with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Echolink only.
Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey J near Weatherford.
Your name and where you're transmitting from. Echolink only.
Kilo Golf 5 Papa Mike in Gulf Orange Beach, Alabama.
5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey J near Weatherford.
Your name and where you're transmitting from. Echolink only.
Kilo Golf 5 Papa Mike in Gulf
Kilo X-Ray 7 Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, Sean and Denton.
Kilo Golf 5 Papa Mike in Gulf
Kilo X-Ray 7 Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, Sean and Denton. Kilo X-Ray 7
All right, had to do some housekeeping here. We've got KG5BZWJ near Weatherford. I'll find that on a map one of these days. KG5P Mike over in Orange Beach, Alabama. He's out of town, but he does have a segment this evening, so we'll be waiting for that. KX7 WTF Sean in Denton. Welcome, Sean. And N5IMS JJ in Carrollton. All right, I'll open up to anybody, anywhere. If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. We'll be waiting for that. KX7
Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rockwall, Texas.
and N5IMS.
Kilo Charlie 5, Romeo Alpha India.
To anybody, anywhere. If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from. We'll be waiting for that.
Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rockwall, Texas.
Not sure if you got me, Mike. This is N5YEO, San Antonio.
Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, Rockwall, Texas.
Not sure if you got me, Mike. This is N5YEO, San Antonio.
I got three more. I got 8G5PM in Rockwell. Can I get your name, please?
I'm sorry, Rich in Rockwall, AG5PM.
This is N5YEO, San Antonio.
I got three more. Just good to have a name. AG5PM, Rich over in Rockwell. I got KC5RAI. I know that's Charles over in Dallas. And N5YEO, Stephen in San Antonio. Sorry I missed you, Stephen. You scrolled off my screen, and I went back and looked, and there you were, but I've got you checked in. Okay, it's probably time to get started, so let's go ahead and do that. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? They can be of ham, astronomical space, or of general interest to licensed ham. Please come down. There you were, but I've got you checked in. Okay, it's probably time to get started, so let's go ahead and do that. Do we have any
Number Tango 5, Tango Mike.
net? They can be of ham, astronomical space, or of general interest to licensed ham. Please come down. There you were, but I've got you checked in. Okay, it's probably time to get started, so let's go ahead and do that. Do we have any Hey, NT5TM. Tony, go ahead. Astronomical space, or of general interest to licensed ham. Please come down. There you were, but I've got you checked in.
Thank you, Tom. I know we covered most of this on TechNet or TrafficNet, but I'd like to just quickly remind everyone it's not our last net of the evening. We do have the Afterglow Movie Net discussing the brilliant cinematic masterpiece, or whatever it was, The Curse of the Mayans, right here at 10:30 p.m. on this repeater. I'd like to just quickly remind everyone it's not our last net of the evening. We do have the Afterglow Movie Net discussing the brilliant cinematic masterpiece, Of course, there are far more nets and club activities coming up. We have the meeting on the air right here tomorrow at 7. That's open to any amateur who'd like to share what's been going on in their ham world, as well as the Racy's training net tomorrow in the Repeater at 8 p.m. Monday is a first Monday that has sections for recipes, cooking tips, and kitchen anecdotes on the Repeater again at 7. Popular time for Club Net. And Fixins Monday at 7. And then on Tuesday at 7, not a net, a club meeting, the next club meeting, Dallas Medical Center, northeast corner of Webb Chapel and LBJ. We're going to be having a special presentation on understanding VSWR, the voltage standing wave ratio. More details on all these items at w5sc.org. This is NT5TM. Medical Center, northeast corner of Webb Chapel and LBJ. We're going to be having a special presentation on understanding VSWR.
Thank you, Tony, and looking forward to the meeting on Tuesday, especially sitting down and watching the presenter and our president. Okay, let's see here. I guess I got a couple of... Oh, I'll ask, anyone else have any announcements they want to bring? The meeting on Tuesday, especially sitting down and watching the presenter and our president. Okay, let's see here. I guess I got a couple of... Oh, I'll ask, anyone else have any announcements they want to bring? All right, let me just get through some of these real quick. Don't forget, AMSAT, that's the Amateur Radio Group, has 2 nets available with Dallas residents, Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. You can listen in on Echolink, or you can go to the AMSATnet.com website, and they have a live stream there, but if you want to participate, you can. It has everything to do with amateur radio satellites launches, status of satellites, what's going on, new stuff that's coming down the pike. That's quite a good net. Then we do have on Dallas has its own AMSAT net. That's on Wednesday night at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, which is 147.140 megahertz with a PL tone of 110 decibel niner. This is an offset, so make sure your radio is set to that when you do check in. AMSAT net. That's on Wednesday night at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, which is 147.140 megahertz. Okay, Tony pretty much gave the overview of what all is happening, but if you do go to the club website, which is w5sc.org, Whiskey 5 Foxtrot Charlie.org, you can see all the things going on. That website is updated almost daily, so you can get the most information on what's going on in the club, including our Tuesday night meeting and directions on how to get there. So please visit us. You can see all the things going on. That website is updated almost daily. Right, Tony was not happy with these, but that's okay. I'm going to give a very accurate synopsis very quickly. So here we go. This is the movie we'll be talking about at 10:30 p.m. Dr. Alan Green, deep dive archaeologist, looked at the water surface, wondering what waited for her team. She had binge-watched Jaws, What Lies Beneath, The Abyss, and the incredible Mr. Limpet. So she was ready for anything. What she didn't expect were skin-diving Mayans. No one expected that. So that's the after-glow movie net. This one, Curse of the Mayans, from 2017. It's in HD. It has stereo. It has people swimming. It has people talking in 2 languages. It's got subtitles. It's great. Tonight at 10:30 p.m. Afterglow movie net. This one, Curse of the Mayans, from 2017. It's in HD. It has stereo. Okay, next up is Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. Events where and when you can look through a telescope. So I'll go ahead and ask, I'll go ahead and open. We've got several people on the net here checked in from TAS. Anybody wishes to speak about TAS, please come with your call sign. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. Events where and when you can look through a telescope. So I'll go ahead and ask, I'll go ahead and open. We've got several people on the net here checked in from TAS. Anybody wishes to...
Oh, I can, but I'm kind of shy by JHA.
All right, Jazz, you're the guy, you're the man. Thanks. K5JHA from KE5ICX. That is yours.
Evening. evening, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the evening. I'm watching Star Trek two different ways, on the video link for Skynet and also, on TV Live. For some reason, the video on Skylink's a little bit behind what's actually happening on TV. Okay, anyway, the Texas Astronomical Society meets on the fourth Friday of each month. The next one's going to be on February the 28th. It's going to be held at the University of Dallas, on Campbell Road. It's at 7:30. But at 7 o'clock, there's usually an introduction to the dark side, or sort of an introduction for new members, alternating between different months. So come at 7 o'clock, and then stay. There's a featured topic that happens, a featured speaker. There's usually an introduction to the dark side, or sort of an introduction for coming month, on February 20th, would be Robert Reeves. He's Moon Man. Oh, he is a fantastic astrophotographer, and he's going to tell you all about different features on the moon that he's photographed, and he'll show you all sorts of photographs that he's taken of the moon. I happen to get a talk from him in a small, intimate setting at the Comanche Springs campus that's out in West Texas back in 2015. He's an excellent speaker. Actually, I grabbed several photographs of his back then. Okay, the Texas Astronomical Society also has observing sessions on Saturday night, the second, third, fourth Saturday night of each month. We've already heard from someone from the Stargazer Star Party at Spring Park in Garland. And the next one's going to be at Frisco Starfest. That's next week at the Frisco Commons Park in Frisco. And the next one after that, the third Saturday of this month, will be Cedar Hill Starbow at J.W. Williams Park in Cedar Hill. And then the fourth Saturday will be Stars on the Rock at the Shores in Rockwall. Now, I've given you some information about the Texas Astronomical Society and observing and meetings. Do any of you have any questions about that? Now, what's your call sign? And then the fourth Saturday will be Stars on the Rock at the Shores in Rockwall. Now, I've given you some information about the Texas Astronomical Society and observing and meetings. Do any of you have any questions about that? I guess there's no questions. Do we want any more reports from Stargazer Star Party? Hey, we know somebody's out there. We've heard from them. You want to say anything more? Come now. Do any of you have any questions about that? I guess there's no questions. Do we want any more reports from Stargazer Star Party? Hey, we know somebody's out there. We've heard from them. You want to say anything more? Come now. Maybe he's packing up his telescope and his radio rig at the same time. All right, back to net control. Thank you, Tom. Hey, we know somebody's out there. We've heard from them. You want to say anything more? Come now.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chaz. Thanks for giving those announcements. Okay, next up is National Space Society events and activities. Bill, N5BB, what do you have for us this week? And thank you, Pete, for being net control at TechNet this evening. Bill, N5BB from KE5ICX. That's yours. Okay, next up is National Space.
This is N5BB, and thank you for being net control here, Tom. So, Space Society of North Texas had an event today at the Mata Elementary School over on Grand Avenue, a couple miles toward Dallas from where Tony lives. It's south of White Rock Lake, short distance. And we did several things. We had some amateur activity there. Tom and I, Tom Schessler, N5HYP, and I made some satellite contacts outside, and that worked out pretty good. They were low satellites, but we had some power line noise, but we were able to get several contacts there on those two satellite passes of AO91 and AO92. And the National Space Society inside, we saw a lot of kids there. This is an elementary school. Kids is up to the 7th grade. And so we saw a lot of kids and had a lot of fun talking about space. All things about space. I had one girl come in, and she, an elementary school girl, she was asking questions about the Artemis spacecraft, which really exists yet, but is supposedly going to be the system going to the moon and further. And I showed her a picture of the International Space Station current 6 astronauts, and I said, "You know who this is?" And she said, "This is the Artemis crew." I guess they haven't picked those yet, of course, since they're still figuring out exactly how we're going to get to the moon. So, that was great fun. We had a lot of kids, a lot of fun. And 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe 5 National Space Society members there. Quite a good turnout. That was great. The next National Space Society meeting will be on the 2nd Sunday of January. It'll be it's January the 9th, Sunday afternoon, starting at 3:30 at the Spring Creek Barbecue, the southwest corner of Beltline and Highway 183 in Irving. I do not know the subject of the meeting yet. I think that's all the near-term thing, except remember the International Space Development Conference will be in Frisco this year. It will be north of Dallas, and it will be at the end of May. It will be on the 27th through the 30th of May. On the 27th, there's tours. Most of the conference is 28th, 29th, and 30th, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of May. The International Space Development Conference, ISDC, in Frisco, at the Embassy Suites Hotel. You can book your tickets early if you'd like to go. That's all I got in 5EB. The International Space Development Conference, ISDC, in Frisco, at the...
Bill, thanks for those announcements. Does anyone need any fills? Please come out.
Book your tickets early if you'd like to go. That's all I got in 5EB. The International Space Development Conference, ISDC.
Any additional check-ins? Please come out. Bill, thanks for those announcements. Does anyone need any fills? Please come out.
Book your tickets early if you'd like to go. That's all I got in 5EB.
All right, well, let's see. Since I'm net control this evening, I'll go ahead and give my discussion topic of the evening. I originally shared this article online on the Facebook page for this net, and I discovered that the thing was actually written about 5 years ago, and it was meant to say in the next 10 years we may find signs of alien life, and the article is listed as signs of alien life will be found by 2025, NASA's chief predicts, and that's Ellen Stolfen. So I thought, that's kind of interesting, and so I went ahead and still read the article. I thought it was quite interesting, and I think she could be right, even in the next 5 years. And there was a short follow-up article that I found with people's ideas. If I've got time, I'll go ahead and read it, but this is what we've got. Let's see here. Cue this baby up. I have a picture of her online if you want to see that. She says the following, the article reads as follows. Humanity is on the verge of discovering alien life, NASA's scientists say. I think we're going to have strong indications of life beyond the Earth within this decade, and I think we're going to have definitive evidence within 20 to 30 years, NASA's chief scientist said. That was April 7, 2015. During a panel discussion that focused on the space agency's efforts to search for habitable worlds and alien life. Definitive evidence within 20 to 30 years, NASA's chief scientist. Where to look, we know how to look, Stolfen added during the event, which was webcast live. In most cases, we have the technology and we're implementing it, and I think we're definitely on that road. Says, I think we're one generation away in our solar system, whether it's on an icy moon or on Mars, and one generation away on a planet around a nearby star. Grunfeld said during the Tuesday's event, many habitable environments are are available. A recent discovery suggests that the solar system and the broader Milky Way galaxy teem with environments that could support life as we know it. For example, oceans of liquid water slosh beneath the icy shells of Jupiter's moons Europa and Ganymede, as well as that Saturn satellite Enceladus. I can never say that right. Oceans covered much of Mars in the ancient past, and seasonal dark streaks observed on the red planet's surface today may be caused by saltly flowing water. Further, NASA's Curiosity rover has found carbon-containing organic molecules and fixed nitrogen, basic ingredients necessary for Earth-like life on the Martian surface, may be caused by saltly flowing water. Further, NASA's Curiosity rover has found carbon-containing... Field observations with Kepler Space Telescope suggest that nearly every star in the sky hosts planets, and many of those worlds may be habitable. Indeed, Kepler's work has shown that the rocky worlds like Earth and Mars are probably more common throughout the galaxy than gas giants such as Saturn and Jupiter. And just as the solar system is awash in water, so is the greater galaxy, says Paul Hertz, director of NASA's Astrophysics Division. The Milky Way is a soggy place, Hertz said during the event. We can see water in the interstellar clouds from which planetary systems and stellar systems form. We can see water in the debris that are going to become planetary systems around other stars, and we can even see comets being dissipated in the outer solar systems as their star evaporates them. Planetary systems and stellar systems form. We can see water in the debris that are going to... Hunting for evidence of alien life is a much trickier proposition than identifying potentially habitable environments, but researchers are working steadily towards a more involved and ambitious goal, Stofan and others said. For example, the agency's next Mars rover, scheduled to launch in 2020, will search for signs of past life and cache samples for a possible return to Earth for analysis. NASA also aims to land astronauts on Mars in the 2030s, a step Stofan regards as key to the search for Mars life. I'm a field geologist. I go out and break open rocks and look for fossils, she said. Those are hard to find, so I have a bias that it's eventually going to take humans on the surface of Mars, field geologists, astrobiologists, chemists, actually out there doing that for the good evidence of life that we can bring for all the sciences to argue about. Eventually going to take humans on the surface of Mars, field geologists, astrobiologists. NASA is also planning out a mission to Europa, which may launch as early as 2022. The main goal of this $2.1 billion mission will be to shed light on the icy moon's potential habitability, but it could also search for signs of alien life. Agency officials are considering ways to sample and study the plumes of water vapor that apparently erupt from Europa's south polar region. It will be to shed light on the icy potential habitability, but it could also search for signs of alien life. In the exoplanet realm, the agency's James Webb Space Telescope, or JWST, an $8.8 billion instrument scheduled to launch in 2018. Looks like it's 2021 now. Will scope out the atmospheres of nearby super-Earth alien planets, looking for gases that may have been produced by life. JWST will scan the starlight that passes through the air of super-Earth, which are much more massive than our own planet, but significantly less so than gaseous worlds such as Neptune. This method, called transit spectroscopy, will likely not work for potentially habitable Earth-sized worlds, Hertz said. More massive than our own planet, but significantly less so than gaseous worlds such as Neptune. Searching for biosignature gases on small rocky exoplanets will instead probably require direct imaging of these worlds using a coronagraph to block out the overwhelming glare of their parent stars. NASA's potential wide-field infrared survey telescope, which may launch in the mid-2020s if the official go-ahead, will include a coronagraph for exoplanet observations to block out the overwhelming glare of their parent stars. NASA's potential wide-field... There was an article that actually came out in October 24th of last year, And it asks the same question, this one by Megan Bartels, and it says, how long will it take to find proof of alien life? Well, let's see. Let's get a little 5 years into the future and see what they say. How long till we find evidence of life beyond Earth? If a panel of experts is on track with their estimates, it may be sooner than you think. That's according to presenters at the International Astronomical Congress taking place this week. That was in October. Half a dozen people who spend their time focused on questions related to the search for life beyond Earth each offered their educated guesses and their whimsical wishes for when humanity might first gather conclusive evidence for extraterrestrial life. The conversation got serious fast with panel coordinator Claire Webb, a doctoral student at the History of Science at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. She co-opted the answer of one of the most venerable figures in the search for intelligent life, Frank Drake, who conceptualized the factors at play in finding intelligent life into what is known as the Drake equation. He said 2024, Webb said. I think he's pretty good authority, so I'm going to go with that. Hey, that's only a year different than the previous estimate. That estimate is on the short end of the spectrum provided by the panelist. I wish I could say tomorrow, but that's just being over-optimistic. So I'm going to go with that. Hey, that's only a year different than the previous estimate. That's what Mike Garrett said, the director of the Joe Durrell Bank Observatory in the UK, said during the panel. But I think there's a good chance of discovering life on Mars within the next 5, 10 to 15 years. I think the reality has to be a goal and would set us on a course for interesting things in the area. Some responses were presented without comment. Andrew Simeon, director of the Berkeley SETI Research Center, suggested October 22nd, 2036, 17 years to the day after the panel in question. Lucianne Walkowitz, an astronomer at the Adler Planetarium in Chicago, said she would ballpark it to within the next 15 years. Others offered a more detailed explanation. Sarah Seeger, an astronomer at the MIT, focused on finding exoplanets, couched her response within the state of pending science projects that could be responsible for making the discovery. Those projects include a host of space-based telescopes, but none will be working anytime soon. Assuming they get selected and they get built, it'll be a while. So I'll say 20 years. Pending science projects that could be responsible for making the discovery. Those projects are all guesses, albeit educated ones, and that showed how some confronted the question. I certainly would like to think within my lifetime, Bill Diamond, president and CEO of the SETI Institute, and also said, hopefully that's more years than I think, but I absolutely think within my lifetime. Probably the month of March, the discovery comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb. And Diamond wasn't the only one to peg the potential discovery to their own personal lifetime. I like the idea of my birthday. Pete Borden, moderator of the panel and executive director for Breakthrough Initiatives, said to close out the session, which began with belated birthday wishes. So my 80th birthday, which is 10 years from now. And that's it from those. I thought that was kind of interesting that they came up with this. There was another article, I'm just going to mention this briefly because I just read it sometime today. There's also the thought about life actually originated here on Earth and being propelled out into space. So if we have several billion years for it to microbes to hitch a ride on a piece of Earth that's been blasted into space during the early days of Earth, well, not so early days of Earth formation, but when life had evolved, that it could be propagated throughout the galaxy, which I think would be pretty cool. I thought about that article, but I'd already plugged everything in, so you may want to read it. I think it's over on space.com. So, that's it for me on that time. If you have any questions or comments, please come down. Which I think would be pretty cool. I thought about that article, but I'd already plugged everything in, so you may want to read it. I think it's over on space.com. So, that's it for me on that time. If I do have any additional check-ins at this time, please come with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from.
Number 5, Oscar Foxtrot, Collier Mesquite.
If I do have any additional at this time. Please come with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from.
Number 5, Oscar Foxtrot.
We picked up another one. I got N50F, Clay in Mesquite. Welcome, Clay. And next up, we have Miss Brenda, WB50ZL. You have This Week in Space History. Please go ahead from KE5ICX. We picked up another one. I got N50F, Clay in Mesquite. Welcome, Clay. And next up, we have Miss Brenda, WB50ZL. You have This Week in Space History.
Thank you, Tom. This is WB50ZL. Monday, January 27th. In 1829, Isaac Roberts was born. He was a pioneer astrophotographer. In 1883, he began experimenting with astronomical photography, taking pictures of stars and an Andromeda nebulae and the Pleiades cluster. Although the photographs proved difficult to interpret, they were revealing. His 3-hour exposure of the Pleiades showed the nebulosity surrounding these stars, and his photographs of the Andromeda showed its spiral shape. Roberts' photographs were exhibited regularly at the Royal Astronomical Society and earned him the Society's gold medal in 1895. These stars, and his photographs of the Andromeda showed its spiral shape. 1951, January 27th, Beatrice Kensley was born. She's an astronomer and cosmologist. Beatrice Muriel Hill Tinsley, January 27th, 1941 to March 23rd, 1981, was a British-born New Zealand astronomer and cosmologist and professor of astronomy at Yale University, whose research made fundamental contributions to the astronomical understanding of how galaxies evolve, grow, and die. Then, 1967, Apollo 1 astronauts Grissom, White, and Chaffee die in a cockpit fire on launch pad tests, during test. Apollo 1, initially designated AS-204, was the first crewed mission of the United States Apollo program. The undertaking to land the first men on the moon, planned as the first low orbital test of the Apollo Command and Service Module to launch on February 21st, 1967. The mission never flew. A cannon fire during a launch rehearsal test at Cape Kennedy Air Force Station Launch Complex 34 on January 27th killed all 3 crew members. Command pilot Ronald Grissom, senior pilot Ed White, and pilot Roger B. Chaffee, all destroyed the command module. The name of Apollo 1, chosen by the crew, was made official by NASA in their honor after the fire. Pilot Ed White and pilot Roger B. Chaffee, all destroyed. January 28th, 1611, Johann Hevelius was born. He, the Chancellor and Mayor of Danzig, Kingdom of Poland. As an astronomer, he gained a reputation as the founder of lunar topography and described 10 new constellations, 7 of which are still used by astronomers. Mayor of Danzig, Kingdom of Poland. As an astronomer, he gained a reputation as the founder of lunar topography. 1986, Space Shuttle Challenger explodes and 7 astronauts die. The Space Shuttle Challenger disaster was a fatal incident of the United States space program occurred on January 28, 1986, when the Space Shuttle Challenger, OV-099, broke apart 73 seconds into its flight, killing all 7 crew members aboard. The crew consisted of 5 NASA astronauts, 1 payload specialist, and a civilian school teacher. The mission carried the designation STS-51-L and was the 10th flight for the Challenger orbiter. The crew consisted 5 NASA astronauts, 1 payload specialist, and a civilian school teacher. The mission carried January 29th, 1984. SA-5 launched. First Saturn I Block II rocket. SA-5 was the first launch of the Block II Saturn I rocket and was part of the Apollo program. In 1963, President John Kennedy identified this launch as the one which would place U.S. lift capability ahead of the Soviets after being behind for more than 6 years since Sputnik. The rocket sent back 1,183 measurements to the ground during the flight, while at the same time it was tracked by telescopes. For the first 1,000 meters, the rocket was filmed by 13 cameras that looked for any pitch, yaw, and roll movements. Separation of the 2 rocket stages was filmed by 8 cameras that themselves separated from the rocket to be recovered 800 kilometers downrange in the Atlantic Ocean. The whole stage separation system worked perfectly, with the retro rockets firing on the first stage to decelerate it, and ullage rockets on the S-4 firing to settle its fuel to aft of the stage. The system worked perfectly, with the retro rockets firing on the first stage. In 1989, Phobos 2 enters orbit around Mars. It was the last space probe designed by the Soviet Union. It was designed to explore the moons of Mars, Phobos, and Deimos. It was launched on 12 July 1988 and entered orbit on 29 January 1989. Phobos 2 operated nominally throughout its cruise and Mars orbital insertion phases on 29 January 1989, gathering data on the Sun, interplanetary medium, Mars, and Phobos. Phobos 2 investigated Mars' surface and atmosphere and returned 37 images of Phobos with a resolution of up to 40 meters. Interplanetary medium, Mars, and Phobos. January 30th, Ranger 6 launched. It was a lunar probe in the Ranger program, a robotic spacecraft series launched by NASA to obtain the first close-up images of the surface. It was designed to achieve a lunar impact trajectory and to transmit high-resolution photographs of the lunar surface during the final minutes of flight up to impact. January 31st, 1958, Explorer 1 launched. Explorer 1 was the first satellite launched by the United States and was part of the U.S. participation up to impact in the International Geophysical Year. The mission followed the first 2 satellites the previous year. The Soviet satellite launched by the Soviet Union's Sputnik 1 and 2, beginning the Cold War space race between the 2 nations. Explorer 1 was launched on January 31st, 1958 at 22:48 Eastern Time atop the first booster from LC-26 at the Cape Canaveral Missile Annex in Florida. It was the first spacecraft to detect the Van Allen radiation belt, returning data until its batteries were exhausted after nearly 4 months. It remained in orbit until 1970 and has been followed by more than 90 scientific spacecraft in the Explorer series. Radiation belt, returning data until its batteries were exhausted. All right, we're going to turn this back to the net. This is WB5OZL, followed by more than 90 scientific spacecraft in the Explorer series.
All right, thank you, Brenda. And this is KE5ICX. There's one major one here, well, 2 that we missed, which is the Apollo 14 was launched, the 8th crewed mission to the United States Apollo program, 3rd to land on the moon, to land in the lunar highlands. Then, good God, there was a lot of stuff this week. I guess that was the last one I really want. Oh, and then in 2003, Space Shuttle Columbia was destroyed during re-entry. Space Shuttle Columbia disaster was a fatal incident in the United States space program that occurred on February 1st, 2003 when the Space Shuttle Columbia OV-102 disintegrated as it re-entered the atmosphere, killing all 7 astronauts. The disaster was the second fatal accident in the Space Shuttle program after the 1986 breakup of Challenger soon after liftoff. 2003 when the Space Shuttle OV-102 disintegrated as it re-entered the atmosphere. Researched that this week, and I didn't realize there were so many events that took place during this week, including the 3 American space disasters. So sorry about that, Brenda, and thanks for bringing all that to the net this evening. Okay, this is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's Skynet. So let's move on to What's Up. That would be Chaz, KF5JHA. So, Chaz, the net is yours. Bringing all that to the net this evening. Okay, this is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's...
I've been wrapped up in the Star Trek episode right now about M5's computer. Good evening. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree's in astrophysics. I work at Brookhaven Community College, and we call this segment of Skynet Was Up. Remember that Skynet is not only available on the Dallas repeater 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone, private line tone, of 110.9, but also the across the world via Echolink. And most weeks, Skynet also has a video component too. I'm watching it right now. Oh my gosh, I see myself on video. Find all those links on the website w5fc.org. So, with radio, Echolink, and video, I say Skynet is in 3D. But of course, our friend and fellow ham, Tony, NT5TM, says we are in 4D because we use the dimension of time. By the way, what goes on in the chat window of Echolink, I have thrown at least a dozen different jokes in there this evening. It doesn't really have anything to do with what's going on in the video, and might not have anything to do with what's going on the air. So to get the full 3D, or rather 4D version of Skynet, you must be monitoring all 3 areas at the same time. It doesn't really have anything to do with what's going on in the video, and might not have anything to do with what's going on. Last month, we completed our 8th year of Skynet, and we've just started our 9th year. It was Tom General's idea to have a net on astronomy. There's been a net about astronomy in the past, but it faded away, and I'm still trying to do research on that earlier astronomy net. If any of you out there can arrange information about that, please contact me. I received my ham license on December 14th, 2010, and attended my first DARC meeting on January 4th, just 2.5 weeks later, 2011. I remember that I remember that Tom General was the president of DARC at the time, and when my membership application came up for a vote, I had listed as being an astronomer. So Tom said he wanted to talk to me after the meeting about an idea he had. The idea was to create a net astronomy. I had no idea what that was, but he needed someone like me to be involved. So I said, okay, not knowing what I was getting myself into. Tom said he wanted to talk to me after the meeting about an idea he had. The idea was to create a net. For the course of the following year, Tom and I talked and emailed each other and created an outline for the net. It was only 3 pages in length. I don't know how many pages tonight's is. I haven't counted them. I still have a copy of that first night Skynet script. We also did have a separate page of links for information. We decided that Saturday night would be a night since the Texas Astronomical Society is observing stations on Saturday night. We got a report from one tonight. That we might be able to get live reports over the air from those observing stations. We have a separate page of links for information. We decided that Saturday night would be a night since the Texas Astronomical Society is observing stations on Saturday night. We got a report from one. Most of you understand that I use double meanings on words to my advantage. And so I suggested the name of Skynet for this new net. If you don't know where I got that name from, you can just Google it, and you will see. Oh, now the video link's showing where I got it from. I believe January the 7th, 2012 was our first Skynet. Oh, by the way, that idea where Skynet came from? That was an afterglow movie we watched several years ago, I believe. So that first Skynet on January 7th, 2012, we had a few cams sign in. If I remember right, we had a few questions that I answered, but Tom was net control and he did the heavy lifting. With Tom's encouragement and a couple of months later, I did my first net control on Skynet. Okay, so that's history. Should have done that last month. Tonight, the sunset later than just a week ago, around 5:58 p.m. Central Standard Time. This time of the year, the sunset time will change by about a minute per day. Last Saturday, the sunset was at 5:52 p.m. During the winter solstice, around December the 21st, here in Dallas, we only have about 10 hours of sunlight. And in the summer solstice, around June 21st, we have 14 hours of daylight here in Dallas. That's a change of 4 hours of daylight from winter to summer. Around December the 21st, here in Dallas, we only have about 10 hours of sunlight. Variation in the number of hours of daylight from winter to summer depends on where you are on the surface of the Earth. At the equator, people experience 12 hours of daylight every day. Doesn't matter the time of the year. In fact, the sun rises and sets the same time every day for those living at the equator. But those scientists that are living at the South Pole, they won't have any nighttime on February the 1st, nor will they have any nighttime tomorrow night or any time this month. The sun will set on March 21st, and it won't rise again until September 21st for them at the South Pole. They have 6 months of daylight and 6 months of continuous darkness. They only have 1 day during each year. Okay, that's hard to understand, but that's what happens. And it won't rise again until September 21st for them at the South Pole. February 1st, there's about halfway in between the winter solstice and the vernal equinox. This is one of the 4 cross-quarter days. Cross-quarter days are halfway between an equinox and a solstice. The other quarter days are on or around May the 1st, August the 1st, November the 1st, and in some cultures and religions, these are considered religious holidays. Halfway between an equinox and a solstice. The other quarter days are on... Let's get more of the nighttime sky. We had more clouds than clear skies over the last week, so I'm guessing most of you were not able to go out and do any observing over the last week, except tonight. I did see a crescent moon last night through some clouds, and later in the evening it did clear off. Today, the moon is at quarter phase. The moon will be full on February the 9th, and will be at its third quarter phase on February the 15th. That reminds me, why does the moon orbit the Earth? Later in the evening to get to the other side. The moon will be full on February the 9th, and will be at its third quarter phase. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. On the evening of February the 3rd, just in a couple of evenings, the moon will be going through the Hyades star cluster. This star cluster makes up the face of Taurus the Bull. If you have a pair of binoculars, even better, a telescope, then watch the moon occult some of the stars in the Hyades on Monday night. I want to remind you to try to find Canopus. Since it's been so cloudy, you might not have done that. Canopus is the second brightest star in the sky. Canopus is not easy to find for us here in North Texas because it never gets more than about 4.5 degrees high in the sky. And that is happening right now. What's funny is I didn't know when I would be exactly on the air, and it's at 9:58 right now, and it's 10 o'clock Central Standard Time tonight. If you look here directly south of the sky, you could find Canopus. It's in the constellation of Canary. It's the constellation of the hull of a ship. So see if you can find it. It's the second brightest star in the sky, Canopus. South of the sky, you could find Canopus. Here this evening, you could have seen Venus and even Mercury in the evening sky. Mercury will be very low in the western evening sky just after twilight for the next several nights. Venus is the brightest thing in the sky other than the sun and the moon, so it's pretty easy to spot in the southwestern evening sky. I believe it's about an hour and a half ago. Don't forget that the Texas Astronomical Society has telescopes set up somewhere in the Metroplex on almost every Saturday night. I forgot to tell you this earlier, but you can go to their website, texasastro.org for details for not only observing stations, but for the meeting times and locations. Is there a ham radio operator out there anywhere tonight that would like to give us a report? We've got one from Garland. Is there anyone else that would like to give us a report of something they've seen this evening? Come now with your call sign. Not only observing stations, but for the meeting times and locations. Is there a radio operator out there anywhere tonight that would like to give us a report? We've got one from Garland. Is there anyone else that would like to give us a report of something they've seen?
Number 5 Sierra, Quebec Alpha.
A report from these observing stations when they're clear. Do any of you out there have any questions or need a fill on anything we've talked about? If you have a question about general astronomy, I'd love to hear about it. Come now with your call sign if you have a question.
N5SQA.
Observing stations when they're clear. Do any of you out there have any questions or need a fill on anything we've talked about? If you have a question about general astronomy, I'd love to hear about it.
Papa.
Come now with your call sign if you have a question.
N5SQA.
Observing stations when they're clear. Do any of you out there have any questions?
I have a question about the full moon on the 9th of this month. My notes say supermoon. Do your notes say that? And you might say a little bit something about what that actually means. I have a question about the full moon.
Okay, well, it depends on who you want to talk to about this. This is sort of a recent phenomenon about supermoons. If a moon, well, the moon goes out in its orbit around the Earth, sometimes it's near, sometimes it's further away. It's called apogee and perigee. So perigee is when it's very close to the Earth. If it's close to the Earth, when it's a full moon, then it's a little bit larger in the sky. Percentage-wise, several percent larger. If it's out there at aphelion, it's quite a bit smaller, a few percent smaller in the sky. So I don't know what you would call that. That wouldn't be a supermoon. But a supermoon is when the moon is close to the Earth, near its perigee. So that can happen more than one time during the year, and we might have the biggest supermoon coming up in February. But that's what a supermoon is. Did I answer your question? Near its perigee. So that can happen more than one time.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much. N5SQA.
Biggest supermoon coming up in February. Thank you so much. I think I heard Mike in there too. Mike, you have a question? Come now.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I do, Chaz. This is 3G5P. My question, this is another moon question.
Thank you so much. I think I heard Mike in
Why
there too.
has
Mike,
the moon
you have a question? Come
been
now.
so moody? Why hasn't it been so moody?
Yes, you did.
Yes, I do, Chaz. This is 3G5P.
I don't know if you know this, but I do collect moon jokes, and I've used maybe a dozen of them a couple weeks ago here on Skynet. I think it's just a phase it's going through. Is that the right answer? I don't know if you know this, but I do collect moon jokes, and I've used
Yes, that's
maybe
correct.
a dozen of them
It's going
a couple
through
weeks ago
all of its
here on
phases.
Skynet.
Again.
I think it's just a phase it's going through. Is that the right answer? Like, all right. As the moon wanes during the last half of February, those are these words. Until next time, keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is Chaz, KF5JHA. Back to net control. Tom, help me get out of this. All right. As the moon wanes during the last half of February, those are these
Hey, thank you, Chaz. It's always interesting and entertaining. And sometimes funny. So we'll go with that. This is KE5ICX and net control for tonight's Skynet. So, Mike, don't go running away. You had something for us, even though you're in Alabama. So, Mike, go ahead. You have the constellation of the month from KE5ICX. KE5ICX and net control for tonight's Skynet. So, Mike, don't go running away. You had something for us, even though you're in Alabama. So, Mike, go ahead. You have the constellation of the month from KE5ICX.
Located in Gulf Shores. Actually, it's Orange Beach, which is right next to Gulf Shores, Alabama, about 4 centimeters from Florida Panhandle. All right. Taurus the Bull is an excellent winter constellation. When I was in high school in Denver, I could look up and I could see Orion and Taurus the Bull, which is right next to it. On these cold nights, I'd be freezing my tail off, but the stars would be big and bright. When I was in high school in Denver, and that was just right outside of Denver. Look up and I could see Orion. So, Taurus the Bull, which is right next to it, is another one of these many constellations which the ancient Greeks inherited from the Babylonians. Who else? Babylonian astromythology, the celestial bull, that means the bull in the sky, as opposed to the other bull. This celestial bull pulled a celestial plow, and it was guided by the celestial plowman, which today we call Aries. Okay, and the plow's furrow was being the ecliptic. Okay, that's the path that the sun and the planets take through the sky, by the way. But you know that. Okay. In the Babylonian epic of Gilgamesh, the bull of heaven was sent by the volatile goddess of love and war, Ishtar. And those of you that are frequenters of the Afterglow know about Ishtar, because Ishtar was in the famous movie The Mole People. But I digress. Ishtar was the prototype of the Greek Aphrodite and Roman Venus, and to inflict drought upon the land of Mesopotamia, this bull was killed by Gilgamesh and his half-man, half-bull sidekick, Enkidu, whoever he was. All right. Anyway, there's more to the mythology, but that's all we'll talk about tonight. Okay, Taurus is a very easy constellation to identify, and it's very attractive, and it's very distinctive, and it's one of the few which really resembles what it's been named for. Bull's horns extend northeast from Beta to Zeta Tauri, and its face is the conspicuous V formed by the Hyades star cluster, which Chaz mentioned. Now, this particular bull has some real long horns, and we like to think of them horns sticking out sideways, but this guy's horns stick straight up in the air. Like my hair does when I get up in the morning. Okay, it has a ruddy, nice star called Aldebaran, which marks one of the bull's flaming eyes, and we'll talk a little bit about Aldebaran in a minute. Okay, the stream of the winter Milky Way cuts northwest through southeast behind the tips of the bull horns. Hence, the constellation is rich in open clusters and diffuse nebulae. It contains two very nice unaided eye-open clusters, the Hyades and the Pleiades. And it also contains the brightest, most easily observable around the M1, which is the famous Crab Nebula. And it's got lots of double stars, and it's got lots of variable stars. And I won't talk about all them. But I will talk a little bit about some of these open star clusters. Okay. We have Messier 45, which is the Pleiades, and the Pleiades is a very nice object, probably one of the nicest ones in the entire sky, no matter how you look at it, either with the unaided eye through binoculars or with large telescopes or on a photograph. Okay, and with common 10 by 50 binoculars, that's probably one of the best instruments to look at it with, because it brings out a lot of the delicate streaks of blue-white reflection nebulae that are around most of the stars, and it doesn't give them a whole great magnification so you can see a wide field of view. Okay, the ancient Mesopotamians knew the Pleiades were something special, and they named it simply the Constellation, which is the first star group in the official ancient Babylonian constellation canon, which dates from around 2000 BC. The lesser Mesopotamian name was the Seven Stars. We sometimes refer to it as the Seven Sisters, and it was represented by a distinctive seven-star pattern in the Syrian art. Now, this is something of a puzzle because only 6 stars are available in the Pleiades. Under poor observing constellations are better. You can see at least 9. And the Greeks tried to account for this difference. But this number, this 7, was probably inherited from the Assyrians. And some legend about the lost Pleiad. Probably the Assyrians and Babylonians had 7 stars because it simply was because of the importance of the number 7 in their religion and mythology. When I was in Tahiti a number of years ago, the rising of the Pleiades in Tahiti, which is in the spring of the year, is typically it marks the beginning of the planting season or the end of the rain season. There they plant when it becomes dry because when it rains, it's not very good for planting stuff, bananas and whatnot. In the spring of the year. Right. Typically it marks the beginning of the Now, the Pleiades are about 410 light years away. And it's the 4th most distant open cluster from the solar system. The brightest stars are all blue-white, what they call mid-B giants and subgiants with absolute magnitude about minus 1.5 to minus 2.5, or that's the equivalent of about 330 to 830 suns. Okay, the total luminosity of the cluster as a whole is about 4,800 suns, so that's why it's fairly easy to spot. All right. Another very important star cluster is the Hyades, and this is 150 years different, light years distant, and it is the nearest open cluster to the solar system. Some would say it is the nearest one, if you don't include the Ursa Minus moving group. Okay, the real bright star, reddish orange star, is first magnitude Aldebaran, which is the bull's eye, but it's not really a true member of the cluster because it's only 68 light years away, but it's quite interesting. It's a supergiant. It's way out to the Hertzsprung-Russell diagram, and if you're familiar with the HR diagram, you have the main sequence, which the sun is a member of, and then they start to peel off in various layers, and as you move further off you get, the larger the stars become, from giants to supergiants, and the Pleiades, or the Hyades, and this Aldebaran, specifically Aldebaran, is between 1A and 1B, which is right up at the upper right-hand corner of the HR diagram, which means that it is a supergiant or very close to it. And this is KG5P, and this is Skynet for ID. Aldebaran, by the way, is also a double star. It's a 0.9 magnitude with a 13.4 magnitude companion. And it's a spectral class K5, which means it's red to the sun, which is a G. It's a very red, bright orange star. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a supergiant. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was Messier 1, which is the supernova remnant of, also known as the Crab Nebula, which is an expanding cloud of gas from the explosion of a supernova observed by the Chinese in 1054 AD. The Europeans are too busy doing other stuff like rats and plagues and stuff. But the Chinese did observe it, and it was so brilliant that it could be seen in the daylight for months and was visible at night for more than a year. We talked about Betelgeuse, and if and when it decides hasn't, it'll be probably brighter than the Crab Nebula, but it is the most conspicuous example today of a supernova remnant. Photographs taken decades apart show the Crab is visibly expanding at approximately 1,000 miles per second, but probably much less than the original explanation 10 centuries ago. But it's nonetheless very positive proof that the Crab Nebula is indeed the debris of the 1054-1054 supernova. In 1968, a pulsar was detected at the center of the Crab Nebula, and this pulsar is a 16th magnitude object that in fact is a rapidly rotating neutron star only a few miles in diameter, and emits a pulse of rays, X-rays, and optical wavelengths every 300ths of a second. And this is the collapsed core of the star that went supernova in 1054. So I shall wrap this up and turn it back to Nat and close by saying, as Miss Carolyn would say, take a look around and you will enjoy it. So back to Nat, this is KG5P. So I shall wrap this up and turn it back to Nat and close by saying, as Miss Carolyn would say.
Very good. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for that presentation. It's very interesting. They had a lot on that tonight, and you did quite well. This is KE5ICX Net Control for tonight. Skynet. Well, I'm going to go quickly through this. We're running a little long, but that's okay. Space launches for this week. I'll go ahead and give the pertinent ones. We've got February 6th, Soyuz OneWeb 2. We launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. A Russian Soyuz rocket will launch 34 satellites into orbit on February 6th for OneWeb, which is developing Constellation, hundreds of satellites in low Earth orbit for low latency broadband communications. The Soyuz 2.1B rocket will use a Fregat upper stage. 34 satellites in orbit on February 6th for OneWeb, which is developing. On February 9th, we have a Meridian M. That's to be determined exactly when that launch will be. Again, another Soyuz rocket. This is from Flint Cosmodrome in Russia. The Russian government Soyuz rocket with Fregat upper stage will launch a Meridian M communication satellite for the Russian Ministry of Defense. The Soyuz rocket will fly in a Soyuz 2.1A configuration. In Russia, the Russian government Soyuz rocket with Fregat upper stage will launch on February 9th, the Antares NG-13 launch. This is from Waltz Island in Virginia. Northrop Grumman Antares rocket will launch a 14th Cygnus cargo freighter on the 13th operational cargo delivery flight to the International Space Station. It's known as NG-13. The rocket will fly to the Antares 230 configuration with two RD-181 first stage engines and a Castor 30XL second stage. Cargo freighter on the 13th operational cargo delivery flight to the International Space. February 9th or 10th, Atlas V will launch a solar orbiter from the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station at Launch Complex 41. A United Launch Alliance rocket designated AV-087 will launch the solar orbiter spacecraft for NASA and the European Space Agency, built by Airbus Defence and Space. The solar orbiter, or SO-10, will travel inside the orbit of Mercury to study how the sun creates and controls the heliosphere, the vast bubble of charged particles blown by the solar wind into the interstellar medium. The rocket will fly in the 411 vehicle configuration with 4-meter fairing, one solid rocket boost, single engine Centaur upper stage. Blown by the solar wind into the interstellar medium. The rocket will fly in a... And then finally, sometime in mid-February will be the Falcon 9 with Starlink 4 from SLC-40, Cape Canaveral. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket is expected to launch the 5th batch of its approximately 60-satellite in SpaceX Starlink broadband network, a mission designated Starlink 4. With all these little satellites in orbit from all these internet low altitude, I'm worried about what's to happen and what we'll be able to see in the sky, continuous objects flying overhead. Okay, that's it for that report. I'm going to go ahead and go to Brenda, WB50ZL. You have an article for us on recent astronomical discoveries. The net is yours from KE5ICX. Continuous objects flying overhead. Okay, that's it for that report.
Thank you, Tom. This is WB50ZL. This article is entitled Space Superstorm Likelihood Estimated from Longest Period of Magnetic Field Observations. A great space weather superstorm large enough to cause significant disruption in electronic and space systems occurred on average once in every 25 years, according to a new joint study by the University of Warwick and the British Antarctic Survey. By analyzing magnetic field records at opposite ends of the Earth, UK and Australia, scientists have been able to detect superstorms going back over the last 150 years. The result was made possible by a new way of analyzing historical data pioneered by the University of Warwick from the last 14 solar cycles, way before the space began in 1957, instead of the last 5 solar cycles currently used. The analysis shows that severe magnetic storms occurred in 42 out of the last 150 years, and great superstorms occurred in 6 years out of 150. Typically, a storm... The analysis shows that severe magnetic may only last a few days, but can be hugely disruptive to modern technology. Superstorms can cause power blackouts, take out satellites, disrupt aviation, and cause temporary loss of GPS and radio communication. They only last a few days, but can be hugely disruptive to modern technology. Superstorms can cause power blackouts. Lead author, Professor Sandra Chapman from the University of Warwick's Center for Fusion, Space, and Astrophysics, said, "These superstorms are rare events, but estimating their chance of occurrence is an important part." Lead author, Professor planning the level of mitigation needed to protect critical national infrastructure. This research proposes a new method to approach historical data to get a picture of the chance of occurrence of superstorms and what superstorm activity we are likely to see in the future. The Carrington storm of 1859 is widely recognized as the largest superstorm on record, but predates even the data used in this study. The analysis led by Professor Chapman estimates that what amplitude it would need to have been to be in the same class as the other superstorms, and hence with a chance of occurrence. Even the data used in this study, the analysis led that can be estimated. Professor Richard Horn, who leads space weather at the British Antarctic Survey, said, "Our research shows that a superstorm can happen more often than we thought. Don't be misled by the stats. It can happen anytime. We simply don't know when, and right now we can't predict when." Space weather is driven by activity from the sun. Smaller scale storms are common, and occasionally larger storms occur that can have a significant impact. One way to monitor this space weather is by observing changes in the magnetic field at the Earth's surface. High-quality observations at multiple stations have been available since the beginning of the space age, 1957. The Sun has an approximately 11-year cycle of activity which varies in intensity, and this data, which has been extensively studied at multiple stations, have been available, covers only 5 cycles of solar activity. If we want a better estimate of the chance of occurrence of the largest space storms over many solar cycles, we need to go back further in time. The AA Geomagnetic Index is still on 2 stations at opposite ends of the Earth in UK and Australia to cancel out the Earth's own background field. This goes back over 14 solar cycles or 150 years, but has poor resolution. Using annual averages of the top few percent of the AA index, researchers found that a severe superstorm occurred in 42 years out of 150, 28%, while a great superstorm occurred in 42 years, and 6 years out of 150, 4%, or once every 25 years. An example, the 1980 storm that caused a major power blackout of Quebec was a great storm. In 2012, the Earth narrowly avoided trouble when a coronal mass ejection from the Sun missed the Earth and went off in another direction. According to satellite measurements, if it had hit the Earth, it would have caused a major superstorm. Space weather was included in the UK National Risk Register in 2012 and updated in 2017 with a recommendation for more investment in forecasting. In September 2019, the Prime Minister announced a major new investment of £20 million into space weather. The object is to forecast magnetic storms and develop mitigation strategies. Okay, this is from ScienceDaily.com, and I'm going to turn it back to Net. WB5OZL. Into space weather. The object is to forecast magnetic storms and develop mitigation strategies.
Okay, thank you, Miss Brenda. And this is KE5ICX. I'm Net Control for tonight's Skynet. I'll take final check-ins at this point. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come down with your call sign, name, and where you're transmitting from. Okay, thank you, Miss Brenda. And this is
Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson, Texas.
Check-ins at this point. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come down with your call sign, name, and where you're transmitting from. Okay, thank you, Miss Brenda. And this is
Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson, Texas.
Hey, I got one more. AA5AH, Robert and Richardson. Welcome aboard. Okay, look over on Echolink. They're still telling puns over on Echolink. Yes, there is definitely other things going on over there. Always. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close it out, and we can start on time for our next net, which is the Afterglow Movie Net. So tonight we had 24 check-ins, not bad. Participating, including myself. Thanks to all those who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net, astronomy in general, on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video feeds. Video archives and other useful internet resources by going to that same website, w5fc.org, which includes net. Until next Saturday night, this is Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray Tom, and I'll be closing the net at 22:27 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. We'll be back in about 5 minutes to discuss The Curse of the Mayans. Is it just the Mayans or all of us? From 2017. Yeah, it's a fairly recent film. Hard to believe, isn't it? Okay, we will talk to you here in about 5 minutes. See you then. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear. The Curse of the Mayans. Is it just the Mayans or all of us? From 2017. Yeah, it's a fairly recent film. Hard to believe, isn't it? Okay, we will talk to you in about 5 minutes. See you then. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear. The Curse of the Mayans. Is it just the Mayans or all of us? From 2017. Yeah, it's a fairly recent film. Hard to believe, isn't it? Okay, we will talk to you in about 5 minutes. See you then. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear. The Curse of the Mayans.
We'll stay.
Just the Mayans or all of us? From 2017. Yeah, it's a fairly recent film. Hard to believe, isn't it? Okay, we will talk to you in about 5 minutes. See you then. This is KE5ICX.
What? We'll stay. What? Completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly. Net.
Vacation.
Completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly. Net.
Vacation.
Completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly. Net.
Vacation.
Completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly. Net.
Oyez, oyez, oyez. All persons having business before the Honorable, the Afterglow Movie Net, are admonished to draw near and give their attention, for the Afterglow Movie Net is now in session. Yes, this means you. Yes, even you, Tom. Sit up straight. Having business before the Honorable, the Afterglow Movie once again gathered to discuss a cinematic masterpiece, a visionary look into the minds of geniuses. Quite the... Wait, we're talking about what tonight? Oh, I'm sorry, I was mistaken. Just pretend I didn't say any of that. This is another pile that we've had to sit through thanks to Tom having found the lowest ranked movies on the IMDb. Yes, this one is right down there with The Human Centipede 3. Don't look it up. You've been warned. Just pretend I didn't say any of that. This is another pile that we've had to sit through. Usual, tonight we'll discuss a movie. Usually discussing, in theory, the plot. characterization, and special effects. That is, assuming we can stay even reasonably close to the topic and not stray into other movies, TV shows, vacations, or how much fun we had at last weekend's field day. Discussing, in theory, the plot, characterization, and special effects. Tom lets us know what movie to watch ahead of time so that we'll have time to make notes and prepare snappy commentary for Saturday night. If you're not on the notification list, then go to Afterglow Movie, 2 words, on Facebook and sign up. Or send an email to Tom at ke5icx@yahoo.com and he'll put you on the list. The list, I say, you don't even have to bribe him, but it never hurts. So he tells me, and I'm WT9V. There, I ID'd, so the FCC is happy. icx@yahoo.com, and he'll put you on the list. Here's what we have on tap tonight. So he tells me, in short, the plot. Dr. Alan Green, an American archaeologist, leads Danielle Noble and her team of cave divers on an expedition searching the Mayan ancient records, or searching for the Mayan. That's why I shouldn't read things off the internet without practicing first. Instead of finding glory, they will find hell hidden in the underwater caves of Xibalba. Expedition searching the Mayan ancient records. An expert diver in Mexico named Danielle is hired by a wealthy scientist named Alan Green to lead the cave diving expedition deep in the wilderness of Mexico. Green's objective is nothing short of incredible. He's looking for the cradle of civilization and a Mayan secret that will change the world. Danielle's team, including her adventurer ex-husband Manny, find themselves so deep in the underwater cave that they see things no man has seen in thousands of years, and they accidentally unleash an ancient alien race that is hell-bent on escaping their prison and tearing the world apart. Apparently this has already happened. If the explorers don't seal the cave soon, the creatures will destroy the world. Thanks a lot, Dr. Green. Ancient alien race that is hell-bent on escaping their prison and tearing the world apart. There's another paragraph, but after having watched the movie and having it sap so much of my will to live, I can't go on. I can't. Y'all can look it up if you really want to. Let's see. Now I'm going to have to stall because once again I forgot to bring up an editor so that he can write down your call signs. Go on. Y'all can look it up if you really want to. Hey, I'm ready. Let's see. Now I'm going to have sometimes I'm almost quick. Please come now with your call sign, name, location, and whether or not you'll admit to having watched this incredibly fine film. This is WT9V, and once again, I'm all ears. I'm ready. Sometimes I'm almost quick. Please come now with
This is Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike, and I am awoke to expose them. I was thinking this might be a balloon, and then I thought, well, yeah, it might be, in fact, Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike. This is Alpha Golf 5.
Could I get your name and location, please?
Oh, my apologies. Rich in Rockwall, Texas. Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike. In fact, Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike.
Thank you very much. And next in line. Could I get your name and location, please?
Oh, my apologies. Rich in Rockwall, Texas.
Number Tango 5, Tango Mike. Tony, portable in Dallas. I saw it.
And next in line.
Kilo Echo 5, India, Charlie, X-Ray, Tom and Melissa. I thought it was great. I saw it.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Tango Sierra, Kilo, Earl in Dallas. I saw it. I'm looking for the rest of it. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Tango Sierra, Kilo, Earl in Dallas.
looking for the rest of it.
Kilo Golf 5 Papa. Mike in Orange Beach, Alabama. Actually, it's not really orange. It's just a regular colored beach, like beach colored beach. Yes, I did see it. And it was great. It wasn't any human centipede, but it was still great. Actually, it's not really orange. It's just a regular colored beach, like beach colored beach. Yes, I did see it. And it was great.
Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. Brenda in DeSoto. Yes, I saw it.
Okay, it sounded like there was somebody doubling with Brenda at the begin, so I got Brenda. Other station, try again. All I got at the end was static.
Yes, I saw it.
Okay, it sounded like there was somebody doubling with Brenda at the begin, so I got Brenda. Other station, try again. All I got at the end was static. Who else is out there lurking, ready to check in? I'll get to echoing in a minute. Somebody doubling with Brenda at the begin, so I got Brenda. Other station, try again. All I got at the end was static. Who else is out there lurking, ready to check in? I'll get to echoing in a minute. Who's out there on Echolink that would like to check in? Please come now. Who else is out there lurking, ready to check in? I'll get to Echolink in a minute.
Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey J near Weatherford.
Please come now.
Yes, I saw it.
Who else is out there lurking, ready to check in? I'll get to Echolink in a minute.
Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey J near Weatherford.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Or anybody else on RF. Either way. Now's your turn.
Kilo Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey J near Weatherford.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Or anybody else on RF. Either way. Now's your turn. Okay, we'll go with what we got. So far I have NT5 PM, Rich in Rockwell, yes. NT5 PM, Tony in Dallas, yes. KE5 ICX, Tom, under one of the glide paths, he said yes. KF5 TSK, Pearl, yes. KG5P, Mike, yes. FDB5, Joe, Brenda, yes. And KG5 BZWJ. Anybody I missed? KF5 TSK, Pearl, yes. KG5P, Mike, yes. FDB5, Joe, Brenda, yes. And KG5 BZWJ. Okay then, I guess we'll get started. Rich, AG5PM, what do you have to tell us about your thoughts about the plot of this fine film? Okay then.
Well, thanks for asking. It sucked less than The Crawling Eye. I fell asleep. I made the mistake of watching it, The Crawling Eye, that is, before the net, and I fell asleep, so I was not able to participate last week. But I did watch this show, and like as I said, I'm awoke to expose them. I'm glad I watched it because now there's an issue here, and consequently I'm on vigilant. I thought it was great. Well, again, it's all relative to The Crawling Eye, as it were. So I would say it's much better than that, and it kept me awake, and here I am today to read out on that, AG5 PM. I thought it was great. Well, again, it's all relative to The Crawling Eye, as it were. So I would say it's much better,
you know, if you're going to compare it to other things.
Today to read
Okay, well, we'll let you get away with it. NT5TM, Tony, what does he have to tell us? This is WT9V, and I'm all ears. I mean, you know, if you're going to compare it to other things. Okay, well, this
this was worse than the crawling eyeball. At least they finished the crawling eyeball in the movie. The plot suffered dramatically from the budget. There were lots of gaps that made it of diminishing coherency because they couldn't afford to show things. And so, look, a monster. Cut. The monster just killed someone. What? Yeah, we told you. We didn't show us. It's a movie. You're supposed to show us. But we told you the monster just killed someone. You couldn't see it. We didn't just edit it. You were overawed by the brilliancy of the movie. Look, a monster. Cut. The monster just killed someone. What? Yeah, we told you. We didn't show us. It's a movie. So, aside from the fact that the coherence was poor and it was generally boring, again, that building up of dread, like in something that had in common with the crawling eye, that building up of dread only works if we care. I didn't care. The blatant, we're not going to finish the plot because this is just the introduction to the sequel no one will ever pay for us to make. There at the end. That was just awful. No resolution, nothing happens, just a standby for episode 2. Well, hopefully there is no episode 1 because then someone might accidentally watch it. The plot unsatisfactory. MP5 DM. That was just awful. No resolution, nothing happens, just a standby for episode 2. Well, hopefully there is
I think you're very kind. K5ICX, Tom. Tell us how you loved this film. And isn't it about time we watch something good? I mean, there's another list on IMDb besides the worst films ever made. Tom, WT9V is how you loved this film. And isn't it how we watch something good?
Wait a minute. I thought it was a wonderful film. The photography was great. You had a lot of underwater scenes, and then there were people talking not in one but 2 different languages, and they were thoughtful enough to go ahead and put in subtitles for the language I didn't understand, English. And I thought it had a lot going for it. Danielle was quite engaging. She was very smart. Young, green, he was okay. I thought probably the best scene was when they get intercepted by the gang that was there, and they go through all this, and we find out that he knows Danielle, and everything's fine, or it was Alan. I forget. After a while, you forget who's who, because it really doesn't matter in the thing. The idea that something was going on, what was in the Mayan stuff, what were they going to find in that? I thought was kind of interesting. One of the things that I thought was quite intriguing is that they had to dive into this remote area, and they managed to bring all of their halogen lights and radios and equipment and all this stuff, change of underwear, in their wetsuits apparently, because I didn't see them actually bringing any of this stuff on board. But in any case, it still had something going for it. Visually, the underwater scenes were quite nice, and well, that's not plot, but the problem with any of these things is that the plot ends up like it always does. How do we get out of this? The answer is, we're going to do a sequel. That never happened. I don't know why. I thought it was a great movie. 2017, maybe in another year it'll be out. Who knows? The problem with any of these things is that the plot ends up like it always does. How do we get out of this? The answer is, we're going to do a sequel. Like most movies, it doesn't have a lot in the way of money, so exposition is cheap, so that's what they did. Unfortunately, there were a lot of scenes that just kind of played out very long, and an hour and a half seemed to go for about 3.5 hours when you're watching. It's sort of like watching a clock. But a few of the items came out okay. I think that the sequel, if they ever do it, will actually be better when we actually get a spacecraft in the thing. Maybe made out of foam, I don't know. But it was cool having this underwater vibe with it. I thought that had something going for it. But it's, Raiders of the Lost Ark thing, but who knows. Okay, I'm going to stop now because, I don't know what to do. The alien sucked. Yeah, I agree with that. KE5ICX. Going for it. But it's, Raiders of the Lost star thing, but who knows?
Oh, I'm sure that if they make a sequel,
I don't know what to do.
and it's absolutely horrible, we'll be watching it here
KE5ICX.
soon enough. KF5TSK, good evening, Burl. How are you doing? Tell us what you thought about the plot of... What was this? Oh, yeah, Curse of the Mayans. Thank you for putting that up on the video, Tom. Is this WT9V? KF5TSK.
This is KF5TSK. Well, I was really surprised. You know, this is a different movie. It had a theme that I thought was relevant, simply because the end of the Mayans calendar, 2 or 3 years ago. Not everything went well except for the end. It's, you know, I suppose we expected something to go wrong, being a curse, but, you know, the green monsters, and it's like, you don't know which way they're going. I would have expected something more, you know, inspirational, or, you know, something more than just monsters from here. And if you let them out, well, you really can't let them out because they'll just take over again. And at the end, you know, the screen kept getting darker, and I was like, oh, what's going on? And it's like, oh, I just killed one of the monsters. Well, no fluid or anything, just take our word for it. Just didn't know, I expected a better ending, but something inspirational, or, you know, this is something that mankind should be doing or something. KF5TSK, back to that. Just didn't know, I expected a better ending, something inspirational, or, you know, this is something that mankind should be doing or something. KF5TSK, back to that.
Plot, such as... No, okay, there wasn't any plot. What you got for us? WT9V. Plot, such as... No, okay, there wasn't any plot. What you got for us? WT9V. 5P, are you out there?
Yeah, hi, this is KG5P. Yeah, I thought you said WT9V. I didn't know you could call me.
5P,
Yeah, I jumped in
are you
early.
out there?
I'm still on Echo Link. This is going to be I'm going to be a short timer tonight. But, no, I found this movie, well, first of all, I found it very educational. I learned a lot about Mayan culture and history. I'm still on Echo Link. This is going to be and also, I learned a lot of words in Spanish that my high school Spanish teacher never told me. So it was kind of like a 2-for-1 in history, especially with the subtitles. And also, they're particularly good. I learned a lot of words in Spanish. Now, this wasn't as good as I mentioned, either part 1 or part 2 of the Human Centipede. I didn't know there was a part 3, but if there is, I'm going to have to go check it out. Yeah, I think we should definitely put the Human Centipede on the list. I think it's on Netflix is where I saw it. At any rate, yeah, I thought the first part of the movie had a bit of a plot. I mean, it was, they're planning the expedition, and then after that, the second part, it all went to pieces. You know, we still don't understand much about the Mayan culture because most of their written stuff had been destroyed by the Spanish when they moved in there. But we do know for a fact, and we know this to be true, that the stuff we can't explain was obviously the result of extraterrestrial activity. So it was quite accurate as far as knowing about ancient Mayan culture. And with that, I am going to say 73s, and I probably won't be here next week, but I'll be here the week after. But I'll watch the movie, whatever it is. So this is KG5P back to net. And with that, I am going to say 73s.
I'd forgotten you were heading over to Alabama. Hope you have yourself a good time, and I'll see you when you get back. 59V. Over to Brenda once again. Are you there, Brenda? Come in, Brenda. Earth to Brenda. I'd forgotten you were heading over to Alabama. Hope you have yourself a good time.
This is WB5OZL. Earth to Brenda. Are you implying that I am not on Earth, or maybe I'm one of those aliens? If I admit to it, you're going to ask me what happened to the Mayans, and I'll never tell. I give this movie a D-. For the plot, it was pretty pathetic. But on the whole, I was kind of enjoying watching it. You know, it moved along. It had some good music and had some interesting things happen. My favorite part was when they found scorpions in their tent and they just torched the tent. Absolutely. That's exactly what I would do. If there's bugs in your house, just burn your house down. As someone that always checked my bed for scorpions every night when growing up and often found some, I'll relate to that. So, I did take issue with these young ladies dressing scantily, Jungle. Do you know what their skin would look like after a night of bugs biting them? I just thought that was so gratuitous, but it's a movie. Claustrophobic. I didn't like the cave scene. That bothered me. But that's okay. The plot wasn't, it didn't have horrible huge holes in it. It was just dumb. And then they bring in a narrator and they're in trouble. That's always the fix when the movie just doesn't make any sense. Let's bring in a narrator to explain it. Alright, back to net, WB5OZL. And then they bring in a narrator and they're in trouble. That's always the fix when the movie just doesn't make any sense.
So you're confirming that you are from another planet. Okay, good. I'll make a note. KG5BWJ, enlighten us, please. This is WT9B. So you're confirming that you are from another planet. Okay, good.
This is KG5BGW.
KG5BWJ, enlighten us,
what's
please.
WT9B? I like the fact that it was, we got the link, the bilingual aspect of it. I like the cave scenes. I'm claustrophobic too, but I don't know, just, I'll experience it through a movie, yeah. That's the bilingual. And the diving scenes weren't done too bad, so, I'm not, claustrophobic too, but kind of wonder, made me really wonder, like, what kind of dive and the dive masks allow too bad, so, besides, kind of wonder, made me really wonder, the deep sea dive kind of thing that you have full helmet and everything, what kind of thing would you have that would actually allow you to actually speak to one another? And I'm just like, I'm kind of wondering if just how much that was added. I don't know what they actually do for a cave dive kind of thing. You'd almost think they would have to have something like that. Maybe they do, and I don't know. I don't know what they do actually do. Let me reset. A cave dive kind of thing. You'd almost think they would have to have something. So, plot-wise, there's not much. I mean, there's the whole bit of exposition, and then, yeah, I don't know what to say. It just kind of devolves into. I keep on wondering, like, the YouTube video had this, like, best horror film. Was like, what? How? What? Was it just like best foreign horror? Was there any other competition? I mean, there were some interesting aspects to it, and for if it were, I guess a independent film, I guess is which I don't know, maybe I suppose it is. You rate, what what am I trying to say? Amateur hour, you don't rate them against someone that's been in the industry for a while and stuff like that. So they had some formula that could have worked. Maybe if they thought it through a little bit better, but it in the end is just kind of. I felt it was maybe it makes as much sense as me rambling on about it, if that makes any sense. It started okay, and it just kind of got worse as it went on, and towards the end, when you're, I mean, it's just funny with the thing. How did the professor know that he was going to have explosives? How did we know that the plot was just going to devolve like this? I don't know. I really don't have much else to say plot-wise, so we'll see what else happens. KG5BGW. I don't know.
Thank you, Jay. I forced myself to watch it this evening since I was going to have to be net control and apparently actually watch the thing. Although I'm really not sure why, and I'm starting to doubt that bit. I was a little confused watching something that wasn't in black and white. I'd forgotten that they made movies in color. Thank you, Tom. And this is the classic darkest, scary movie. There wasn't really anything going on because apparently they couldn't afford to light the sets either. So, it's, ooh, something's happening. It's dark. Let's see. One of the first thoughts I had about the first scene was, oh, we found an ancient thing. Let's bust it open. What could possibly go wrong? So, it's, ooh, something's happening. It's dark. I was going to ask what they burned in the tent or why they burned the tent, but I didn't see the scorpions. Thank you, Brenda. But torching the tent was just like nonsensical. The "it's all my fault" scene in the cave was just painful. That was about where it was sapping my will to live to the point that I couldn't get my hand up to turn it off, and I ended up having to watch the rest of it against my will. I blame Tom, as usual. That was about where it was sapping my will to live. I like the guy that was banging on his air gauge. Oh, my air gauge is empty. I'll shake it. That'll fix it. That always works, right? And the ending of the movie, hated it. So that takes us back around to 8:05 p.m. Rich in Rockwall. What do you got to say about characterization of this? The ending of the movie, hated it.
Well, I'm glad you asked. What I don't understand is why don't people fight back? After watching, I don't know, thousands of crappy science fiction films and I don't know, 50 odd years that I've been watching TV, what I've learned is that you have to fight the alien. And everybody here just screams like, well, this probably will be politically incorrect, like a little girl, and lets the alien take them, like in this show, and The Crawling Eye, which I missed. But I did watch, and it just seems to me that they should have fought back. To me, that would have been an upgrade to the movie had they fought back and taken a couple of those aliens out. But no, and the unarmed aliens without any protection or clothes seem to be able to take these guys because, well, it was just that easy. Anyway, I would have fought back because I've watched so many of these shows and I've learned that's what you need to do. 8:05 p.m. Aliens without any protection or clothes.
Mind control aliens. You don't know. I mean, you're not wrong. 8:05 p.m. Tony. What do you have to top that? Mind control aliens.
Not much. I should probably combine my comments on characters and special effects and my last sniggers. Oh boy, characters? They were pretty predictable. Yeah, I have to agree with Brenda about wearing hot pants in the jungle. That's always a great idea. But like the rich guy was the most annoying generic rich guy. When you're rich, you live on a yacht and you're always talking about mergers and you're always bargaining to make it happen and do this. They were pretty predictable. Yeah, I have to agree with Brenda about wearing hot pants in the jungle. That's always a great idea. But like the rich guy was the most annoying generic rich guy. Yes, I have to agree, the character of the archaeologist was especially accurate because it's a little known fact that all archaeological sites have to be equipped with powerful bombs in case you awaken an ancient deadly mummy. Likewise, I'm sure if Chaz was here, he would remind us that all telescopes are equipped with explosives in case you accidentally bring back a dark overlord from the Nexus of Sawdust. This is a real risk in science. So most scientific and work sites are equipped with explosives. Just ask any scientist. Chaz was here, he would remind us that all telescopes are equipped with explosives in case you accidentally bring... And finally, I would have to say with effects that although they try to do, because it's cheap, I've worked on student films, cutting out too much because you can't afford to do it is just the hallmark of a movie that's out of money. Something was supposed to happen here, but we're just going to have a quick blackout or something because we can't afford to show it. The one thing that's positive about this was the diving was kind of neat. I liked seeing the underwater and seeing the Mayan artifacts floating. If this had been a better movie, that would have been a little bit that actually contributed to making it good. So I guess that's why we'll give it a D- instead of an F. I'll vote with Brenda on that one. And that's all I've got. We got to flush some quality through the system or I'm going to be ill. I can't take it anymore. That's all I've got tonight. Thank you for being at control. NT5 to you. So I guess that's why we'll give it a D- instead of an F.
Oh, you're welcome, Tony. I had to. Tom threatened me otherwise. And speaking of Tom, T5 ICX, that is yours from WT19. Oh, you're welcome, Tony. I had to. Tom threatened me otherwise. And speaking...
Okay, well, characterization. The characters kind of all blend together after a while, but your two main characters, they were nice. They did fine. They were busy interacting and talking like adults. Yeah, I'm cribbing off the same sheet you are. That was kind of nice to see. Usually everybody acts like a 3-year-old in these things, although there was a few scenes where they're crying about it. That is annoying. What else can I say? Well, the mentioned earlier where they had the scene with the highwaymen that pull them over to the side and decide that they're going to kill them. That was pretty impressive on how they handled that. It was an overly long scene, although everything had overly long scenes. The exposition scenes went on and on and on. But that was by far, I think, the most interesting in what they did. I agree with Brenda that, going and there's scorpions in your tent, you set the tent on fire was pretty hilarious. So, but you can have stupid people on excavations and discoveries and all of that. It happens, certainly. I mean, 50 years of Star Trek says that, with commanders that do stupid things all the time and there's a stupid crew that gets killed. I'm digressing because that's something I could talk about and I know. And stupid is what stupid does. Oh, boy, do I have anything really, really introspective and interesting about the characters? No. They all were beautiful people, pretty much, except for the bad guys in it and the aliens. I guess there was more than one, although I think they had one rubber suit that they borrowed. You think, what else can I say about this? Hold on. Beautiful people, pretty much, except for the bad guys in it and the aliens. I guess there was more than one, although I think they had one rubber suit that they... So, I guess I don't have a lot on the characterization. I've got something to say about the special effects and that overall later on. So I'm going to defer to you, KE5ICX.
And by you, might be gone. That would be Brenda. Tom is deferring to you, Brenda. Make it good. WT9V.
WB50ZL, is that a threat? I have to make this good somehow. Really? Characters. They were one-dimensional, plastic, predictable. They all looked alike. I can't remember. One of them was named Danielle. I know there were two scantily clad females for gratuitous sake, and that's all I remember about the character. Oh, there was an alien. Well, there was a guy. There were rubber suits. Apparently aliens live in rubber suits. Those of us of the alien persuasion don't want that out, but it's a secret, and it's true. Characters. I just don't have a lot to say about characterization. The one districts did pretty well. I'll say that. And you have the standard garden variety obligatory conflicts. Bringing my ex-wife and my new girlfriend on the same trip together. That's a good idea. Gee. All right. Back to that. WB4OZL. Conflicts. Bringing my ex-wife and my new girlfriend on the same trip together. That's a good idea.
Understand why you don't see the need for cleavage, midriffs, and legs as being essential jungle expedition accessories. Jay, what do you have for us? Understand why you don't see the need for cleavage, midriffs, and legs as being essential jungle expedition
accessories. It's kind of funny. One of the things that I initially hated because, hey, we've got this exposition that's kind of getting in the way of us actually seeing the horror. Well, it turns out when we actually later see the horror is just cobbled up mess. So it's like, well, now I can look back at that other scene that I really kind of hated and thought was, not really productive, and it's like, that's actually one of the better scenes of the film. And I know I'm talking about plot, but it seems like, well, the insurance, this may really, I'm going to cheat and call this characterization, but it's probably more plot. The insurance policy of the ex-husband, it is the ex-husband, right? I'm not misremembering here. And that whole, dealing with the gang, that was actually kind of interesting when you look at look at the movie backwards. That was the more interesting aspect of this film. That actually, real horror, possible horror. But these mind control aliens that I don't know did I misunderstand something, or they're mind controlled, but they're corporeal. How is that really even possible? They didn't really explain that. It happened, but they somehow have I don't know, matter shifting phase, whatever, so they can occupy the same space as your brain, and they merge with you, and voila, you are theirs or something. I don't know. Let me reset. Brain, and they merge with you, and voila, you are theirs or something. I don't know. I mean, besides the game scene, what else is there to say? There's the professor that happens to be friends with a rich guy who he was kind of interesting, but not really. The cave diver, I feel like I'm going to be going over all the characters I know and try to figure out if there's anything really interesting about any of them. And besides the gang scene, I don't think there was much. There was just too much exposition, and then a rush to finish it at the end. Excuse me. And just not enough really to really understand anything about the characters. It was a mess. KG5BW. Really
I don't think you were the only person that didn't understand the movie. Because I didn't understand it. I mean, it was... Yeah. Nah. There was... Nah. No, and no, Miss Brenda, that wasn't a threat. It was encouragement. Like, you're on, do your best. Like, that kind of thing. Not a threat. Yeah. Nah. There was... My thoughts on the characterization, the characters, was that they were all tissue paper thin. It's like, oh, go play this, and they went, oh, okay. The archaeologist guy was just an over-the-top jerk, and I don't know. I thought most of the characters were annoying. Tissue paper thin. Was I happy they all died? Yeah, maybe. I was more interested in the guy in the rubber suit. Didn't I see that before in, like, the creature from the Black Lagoon? Oh, well. Let's go around again. Rich and Rockwall. Anything about anything that you want to say, it's all yours. Take it away from WT90. Oh, well. Let's go around again. Well, there's so many things. But the first thing that comes to mind is, I'm not sure I understand the issue with the hot pants and cleavage, as was referenced earlier, because that seems de rigueur for a film of this ilk. Again, in the thousands of such movies I've watched, that seems to be
well, par for the course. So, I thought that was transparent. Anyway, the other thing was the rubber suit guy was somewhat nostalgic for me because it reminded me of the A-Team with George Papard wearing that creature in the black lagoon suit every once in a while you'd see in some of those episodes. So it brought back fond memories for me, AG5 PM. Wearing that creature in the black lagoon suit.
I think Tony left, but I'm not 100% sure, so I'll give him a chance if he's still out there.
Memories from me, AG5 PM. Wearing that creature in the black lagoon suit.
I think Tony left, but I'm not 100% sure, so I'll give him a chance. Apparently I was right. That brings us back to Mr. Tom. You had other thoughts. You usually have other thoughts. You have all sorts of fascinating insights into the films that we watch. Enlighten me, please, along with the rest of us. Go ahead, Mr. Tom. You had other thoughts. You usually have other thoughts. You have all sorts of fascinating insights.
All right, I will. And this is KE5ICX. Well, I thought the opening was pretty cool. I liked the idea of the Mayans and the back in time and seeing what everybody's doing. You know, one of the Mayan shows that you pay $15 to get into, and you got to pay for the meal separately. You had that. That was fine, and it was, I thought, well filmed. It looked good. Then it ends with that. That's the bookend. You know, we come back and we realize that the Mayans have these aliens that have come down, helped us out, Eric Von Däniken style, and then gone back into the clouds. And in this case, I don't know why they go underwater, these little alien things. They think they were called something. We don't even know if they're real. Because you got to carry a lot of water with you in the spaceship, I would guess, you know, like George and Gracie in Star Trek 4, 5, or 3, or 4. Yeah, 4, that's the one. Let's see. There was some interesting or some weird stuff going on. Anytime they showed anything that had aliens, pictograms or glyphs or reliefs that were underwater, it was very blurry, and then you get this crystal clear picture. Some weird stuff going on. My suspicion is that some of this was not filmed for the movie, as it was recycled footage, and pretty good HD footage, by the way, especially going into the cave. That looked good. But then they filtered it with other stuff that was done on land, strictly for the movie. It gave it kind of a little more of a gravitas than what you would expect. The acting itself really wasn't all that bad, I thought, until close to the very end, where everybody's kind of overreacting to what's going on. So you spend most of the movie thinking, well, holy cow, what happens? Where are they going? What are they going to do with this? And then, as Brenda said, they ran out of money. Yeah, that happens a lot in films. You don't have enough money to pay your cast, or you have a story that you've invested in and probably rewritten and written along the way, probably on set or on site, on location in this case, and you got to do something. It's always that fifth scene thing where you can't extricate yourself in such a way to make it work. So that was the problem, I think, with this film. As far as an indie production, low budget, this one may be one of the best looking overall of anything that we've seen so far. It also had some of the better acting from what we've seen. The Crawling Eye and other films going back to the 50s have some amateurish styles to them. But this one rose above that. It's just too bad that the story couldn't be better and that it didn't have a satisfying conclusion. That was very unsatisfying. But A lot of science fiction films are like that. Even the good ones have unsatisfying endings at times. Above that, it's just too bad that the story could better and that it didn't have a satisfying conclusion. That's all I got. It was overly long, which we mentioned earlier. I think this whole thing, an hour and a half, is about 45 minutes too long. You could probably tie it all up like a one-hour episode of some TV show with commercials and had a better ending. I think they did this in The $6 Billion Man with a Sasquatch. Back to you, KE5ICX. Tie it all up like a one-hour episode of some TV show with...
No. Thank you, Tom. And while Tom has been talking, I have been giving myself 20 lashes with a wet noodle because I forgot Burl last time. Just looked at the list, looked at Mike being gone, my brain didn't work, so, well, I apologize profusely. What do you have for us about characters, special effects, whatever else? I'm very sorry, and I'll try not to do it again, but I screw things up. WT9V. I apologize profusely.
This KF5, TSK. Well, I would say the characters, if they were really dynamic, we wouldn't be paying attention to everything else in the movie. It was like we knew something was going to happen. We just didn't know what the course was. We wouldn't be paying attention to. One of the things that kind of got to me was we were always going to turn back when our oxygen was down to 1/3, but they were always down to 10, 12, 15%, and it's like, where does the 1/3 come from if they, set the standard and then broke it? But visually, I thought it was a, very appealing movie. Just all of the scenes of the, artwork was really fascinating, and I think everyone still, wants to know more about the Mayans that, they predicted so many things and, built a calendar and, I guess was, really involved in time. KF5 just came back to that. So many things and, built a calendar and...
I had the same thought about that, whole 10%, 12% thing right at the beginning, but my thought, or what I tried to tell myself, was that they'd used up that much, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You got me. Miss Brenda, make it however you want to make it this time. What do you have for us on special effects and or anything else that you want to talk about? It's WT9V.
WV5OZL, do I need to talk about this movie?
What do you have for us? At this point in the night, no. You can talk about whatever you want to. And or anything else that you want to talk about.
Okay, sorry. Mayan ruins in Tulum once. I didn't see no aliens. It was just a bunch of rocks. It was interesting. Mayans had a highly organized civilization, and maybe that was a gift from the aliens. I don't know. But they're a mystery. We don't know what happened to them, and we don't really know too much about them. And what we do know is really, really bizarre civilization, and maybe that was a gift from the aliens. I don't know. Yeah, I had a thought that to encourage young people to go into science. Maybe if they knew about being able to blow things up, as archaeologists, maybe they'd be more willing to go into it. I know I would. If I had known you could blow stuff up, I'd have become an archaeologist, but, they didn't tell us. So, that's not many more thoughts. Special effects were, they were okay. They were nothing special. There's just so much about this movie that you could just say it just wasn't special, what I bring to this. Back to that WB5OZL.
What do you mean you would have gone in? You would have been an archaeologist. I mean, didn't you see Laura Croft's Tomb Raider? Well, okay. Jay, KG5BVW. It is now your turn. Bring us home, Jay. Didn't you see Laura Croft's Tomb Raider? Well, okay.
Bring us home? This is KG5BVW.
Now your turn. Bring us home, Jay.
That's such a kind of loaded statement there. I will say that I love the dancing scenes of the old Mayan. Wait a second. And that's right. And at the very end, it was like the alternate dimension, whatever, and she was brought to see those guys dance around it, whatever, and maybe that was all in that alternate dimension and whatever. Ignoring the explanation, I thought those dance scenes were actually pretty nice. Of course, I've already complimented the dive scenes, and I guess, yeah, like Burl's right. The overall look at the film is actually not that bad. When it came to the actual aliens, it was kind of cheesy and I don't know. Anyway, alright, enough about that. There's going to be something else I wanted to say. Man. Oh, shoot. Oh, that's what I get for having a phone in front of me, talking through Echo Link and not computer and like notepad executable open with my thoughts or whatever, but just lying in bed just trying to think of thoughts and stuff. Okay, I'm rambling too much. I want to say one final thing. It's just it's gone. It's gone. It's I guess I'm eager for hearing about the next movie. That's damn. It really had some one idea that was just. I'll remember it long after this day. It probably wasn't really worth that much. Talking about something. Anyway, KG5BZW back to net control. It really had some one idea that was just. I'll remember it.
Alrighty there, Jay. Alright, so, it's early. Unless we want to go home early now, I'll throw it open in case there's anybody else that wants to say anything about anything. Or you can just tell me to announce the next movie. This is WD9V.
WB5OZL.
Anybody else that wants to say anything about anything. Or you can just tell me to announce the next movie. Brady, go ahead. This is WD9V.
I want to circle back to the comment about how these movies always have scantily clad females in them. And what I don't like is the fact that, we need Jason Momoa scantily clad. There's nothing there for me. So I just feel very discriminated against. WB50ZL. And, we need Jason Momoa scantily clad.
Who do I? I'm completely in agreement with you. Well, I guess if that's all we got, this is one of those times when we didn't actually have a lot to say about a horrible film. So, all right, get your pens and papers ready, people, because I'm gonna announce next week's movie. It's gonna be from 2013, The Adventures of Sinbad, which. Then again, I thought I saw that a long time before it was made, so apparently I didn't see this one. Anyway, Adventures of Sinbad. And with that, I think it's game up. So, it's been fun, it's been real. Then again, I thought I saw that a long time before it was made, so apparently the movie was terrible. I don't care what Tom says. WT9V, y'all have a great weekend. I think it's game up. So, it's been fun, it's been real. Then again, I thought I saw that a long time before it was made. The movie was terrible. I don't care what Tom says. WT9V, y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you, Michael. You did a good job in spite of it all. KE5ICX.
Saying that, so I'll come back in 3 weeks' time.
Thank you, Michael. You did a good job in spite of it all. You're not going to be here next week?
It is net control. WT9V. 3 weeks' time.
Thank you, Michael. You did a good job. Well, you did great, because there wasn't a wiki on any of this stuff, and you had to find it through other means. I mean, if you don't have a wiki, then I guess you don't have much of a put in popular culture. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I looked up on IMDb while you were. Somebody was talking. You might have been Brenda. I'm not sure, but they were talking. You were talking about how much running out of money and stuff, and the box office was listed in Mexican something, pesos, I don't know, 11 million something or others. I guess 11 million pesos. I don't know what that is in how that corresponds. Apparently, this wasn't released over here. I'm guessing. I don't know. Yeah, it was. Where do you find this stuff? Just saw JJ's comment on Echo Link. $3.49 US. Ooh, JJ. Ooh, bad. WT9V. Yeah. It was, where do you find this stuff? Just saw JJ.
Deeper inside your mind, we can find more horrible stories and or unpleasant things. Yeah, well, YouTube has them. What's interesting is some of these more newer films sometimes aren't even given a title on YouTube. They are given a kind of a general comment like Adventure Family or something along those lines so that it isn't alerted somehow. I don't know. I think this one probably was put up there freely and they didn't care. But I don't know. We'll see. One thing I should do though is that there's a series that and this is the thing that turned me on to New Zealand television was a series called no, this is South African television series and we've not watched it called Charlie Jade, which only lasted one season. But the premise is so interesting. Parallel universes, 3 of them type of thing, and it's been considered the most complicated television series ever made, as in difficult to follow, because you've got to follow the characters in 3 different universes. But it's quite well done. The photography is good. It was about 10 years ago when it came out, and I found out about it through Slice of Sci-Fi, which was a podcast thing, and found it, able to watch it. It's now available on YouTube, and it's quite good, but it is tough to follow, I will say that. So that was one. Found it, able to watch it. It's now available on I think there was the New Zealand one, which is This Is Not My Life, which is kind of a riff on the Prisoner series. They have a similar story where the guy wakes up in a town that he can't get out of, and it's slightly into the future. That one got me interested in television stuff, which I do watch from time to time. It's quite fascinating. They do there's photography in it. It's really well done. And that one's probably about 5 years old now, too, and it only lasted one season, but they did have a conclusion to it. So sometimes the sensibility and stuff is interesting, and sometimes the stuff shows up on YouTube in weird ways. And I think that's what happens with some of these films. They just show up because there's not a big enough audience for them to really take off. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not good at all. KE5ICX. Weird ways. And I think that's what happens with some of these films. They just show up because there's not a big enough audience for them to really take off. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not.
I had something in the middle of what you were saying, and it took me a moment to remember what I was thinking. Is this show that was hard to follow, is it harder to follow than Westworld?
There's not a big enough audience for them to really take off. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not.
I had something in the middle of what you were saying.
Yes, it is. Although you do make a good point, because Westworld is difficult to follow. Particularly in the first season, you know what the game was they were playing. So, and now that reveal occurred, I think in the last few episodes, now it's easier to follow. Now, the series has the characters shifting back and forth between the three timelines, or three worlds, and everybody has nefarious plans. Each world is different in their objectives and what they're doing, and then they overlap from time to time. So it's got it's visually interesting. If you watch the first episode, you click very quickly because it just has a certain vibe to it that's really cool and engaging. But it doesn't take very long before you go, oh my God, what am I watching? It gets kind of confusing very quickly. There's a series on right now that's doing that. Well, Picard's doing that right now, too. It's getting kind of complicated, and it's only in its second episode. So I think as viewers, we're being challenged. What do you think? KE5ICX. There's a series on right now that's doing that. Well, Picard's doing that right now, too. It's getting
Definitely, there's a lot more shows that
as viewers, we're being challenged.
Require a lot more mental effort than used to, and honestly, I think Babylon 5 is probably the one that started that. A lot more shows, you know, showing something that's not just a little episode, you know, one episode that's standalone, doesn't really have anything to do with anything else. I mean, Babylon 5 wasn't hard to follow, but it took a lot of investment on your part to get the most out of it. You know, if you just wanted to turn it on and see something, it wasn't going to make much sense. I mean, Babylon 5 wasn't hard to follow, but it took a lot of...
This is AG5PM with the comment.
Go ahead. Get the most out of it. You know, if you just wanted to turn it on...
Oh, I love Babylon 5. I have that series on Blu-ray. So I agree, that's a great show, but honestly, when I see a show like the one we watched tonight, more often than not, almost everything I watch, I'm multitasking, doing something else. And so I never concentrate on the show. I'm always surfing the web, working on some electronic thing, whatever, reading a book, and the TV's just on. So when I look at this show that we watched tonight,
It had, the visuals were good. It was in color. That was nice. It had gratuitous sex, violence, and aliens. And so, it was okay from my perspective because it was a kind of a distraction. And when I was, I don't know, bored with something else because I have severe adult attention syndrome. So I look at these things in that regard. If it keeps my sort of peripheral attention, it's great. Otherwise, I turn it off. But I've got so many things going on, I can't even sit through a movie, regardless of how good it is. So I look at these things in that regard. If it keeps my sort of peripheral attention, it's great. Otherwise, I turn it off. But AG 5 p.m. going on, I can't even sit through a movie, regardless of how good it is.
I wish I hadn't sat through this one.
Well, that's because you actually watched it. AG 5 p.m.
No, I was doing other things at the same time. I started watching it, and then I just lost interest, frankly. And I was like, oh, just let it play out while I do other things.
That's because you actually watched it.
Yeah, well, like I said, it was sapping my will to live, and I didn't have the strength to reach up and turn it off. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And then I just lost interest.
I paused it about 30 times.
While I do other things. You see, your mistake was hitting play again.
Yes, that's true. I want to participate in tonight's net, AG 5 p.m.
You see, your mistake was hitting. Hopefully next week will be better. It can't be much worse.
Yes, that's true. Well, if the crawling eye was any indication, I can't say that that's the case. And in fact, I wish I was on last week's net because I did watch it, but I did fall asleep and I couldn't stay up, so I couldn't take it. I watched it and then I had to go to bed. So anyway, if they get any worse, I guess that's going to be a problem. At least this evening's movie was in color and there was people in scantily clad outfits. Anyway, if they get any worse, I guess that's going to be a problem.
Thank you for getting on the net, Rich and Rob. Well, tell us what you thought about The Crawling Eye. This is WD9B.
People in scantily clad outfits. Well, I love Death Troop. So Sergeant O'Rourke was great, but the rest of the acting was terrible, and the monsters were horrible. So very disappointing creatures. I would say they were worse than the rubber-suited aliens in tonight's flick, but that's just me. Oh, by the way, it's interesting the science behind some of these things, because they were pointing something at the mountain, the cloud, and they could detect the radioactivity, which was sufficient to kill everybody, but no one seemed to be concerned. So, in any case, I would say tonight's movie blew it away, but Crawling Eye was interesting, but it put me to sleep. The radioactivity, which was sufficient to kill everybody, but no one seemed to be concerned. So, in any case...
I sort of liked it. I think that, the terror on whatchamacallit mountain was a better title, because the eyes really didn't crawl much. They were more like a one-eyed brain, looked like to me, but whatever. I think I like the original title better, because calling it The Crawling Eye and then spending most of the film whose eyes are going to pop out of their head next, or is that what is that? It just kind of left me unsatisfied when I finally saw the thing. Now, if it'd been the terror on whatchamacallit, then whose eyes are going to pop out, been a little bit better, a bit more of a surprise. But what do I know? It kind of left me unsatisfied when I finally saw the thing.
Well, it would have set expectations better. What annoys me about these things is, everybody screams
and gets beaten or killed, doesn't put up a fight. So when the mountain climber, with a pick in his hand, screams like a little girl and lets the other guy kill him, I'm like, is that real? I don't get it. Anyway, that's a personal annoyance for me. They ought to fight back. But what can I say? AG 5 p.m. The little girl and lets the other guy kill him.
See, something that Hollywood creates is, it often doesn't make sense. What I really love, and by love I mean hate, is when they take a perfectly good book and decide to improve it to the point where it's no good anymore. It often doesn't make sense.
Have you ever seen the movie Forbidden Planet? It had Robbie the Robot and Leslie Nielsen. It had to be one of the most scientifically accurate science fiction films ever produced. And it had great special effects at the time. Now, of course, I'm dating myself. I'm not that old, but it was a great science fiction film. It had all the elements of actual science fact and fiction. AG 5 p.m. And it had great special effects at the time. Now, of course, I'm dating myself. I'm not that old, but
they have. I think Tom mentioned that it makes the list again whenever he's gotten horrible movies out of his system and decides to pick something better that's not going to make us claw our eyes out while watching it. WT9V.
WT9V, something stepped all over you. I don't know what that noise was, but if we could watch Forbidden Planet on this net, it would be awesome. I would love that. That would be a great movie, worthy of our time and discussion. AG 5 p.m. I don't know what that noise was, but if we could
first stepped on me.
Forbidden Planet,
you go ahead now.
On this net, it would be awesome. I would love that. That would be a great movie, worthy of our time and discussion. AG 5 p.m.
It wasn't me. I was listening, and we were all listening. Maybe somebody fell on their mic or something. But no, we can do Forbidden Planet. We did Close Encounters of the Third Kind a second time, and Forbidden Planet was early on the list because it's high on the list of cool films. But we can do them again. We got kind of a different folks coming in, and people opt in and opt out all the time, so we can do it again. I don't mind. I've got it on it with a little asterisk next to it on the check engine, and I'll put it back in and we'll watch it. I certainly love it. It's one of my favorites. This Island Earth, Forbidden Planet, and what's the third one I'm thinking of from that time period? Oh, The Earth Stood Still. Those are all great films from the 50s.
Add Earth versus Flying Saucers to that list, and I think you'd have a great list.
What's the third one I'm thinking of from that time? Oh, The Earth Stood Still. Those are all great films from the 50s.
Add Earth versus Flying Saucers.
Look at me, I'm not net control anymore.
I think you'd have a great list.
What's the third one I'm thinking of?
Well, I think we should redo the movie Primer. If you talk about a complicated movie, I had to go watch a YouTube video that explained it. It was quite interesting. It's a time travel movie, and it will definitely challenge your intellect. WV5OZL. I had to go watch a YouTube video that explained it. It was quite interesting. It's a time travel movie, and it will definitely challenge your intellect. WV5OZL. I had to go watch a YouTube video that explained it. It was quite interesting. It's a time travel movie, and it will definitely challenge.
I'm looking over here, and JJ, he's gone now. but he mentioned a TV series called Counterpart from Stars from 2015 to 18. Says a hapless UN employee discovers that the agency he works for is hiding a gateway to a dimension that's in a Cold War with our own, and where his other self is a top spy. This war slowly heats up, but he's gone now, so I can't. Oh, no, he's there. He's there. It's just in a different position. So that's what JJ's saying. JE5ICX. That's a good one. We can go back and watch some of the good films again. I just picked something out of the bunch, and sometimes the art films are actually pretty good. Primer, which is what Brenda's talking about, is an excellent film. It's complicated. There's no two ways about it, but it's quite a good film. JE5ICX. The art films are actually pretty good. Primer,
would be a good thing. Every T9B.
It's complicated. There's no two ways about it, but it's quite a good film. JE5ICX.